Hello, I'm Ben. Welcome to the channel. So today we're going to talk about an article that I read recently. I think this article was written 2 months ago by a young lady named Rachel Feintzig. And the title of this article is Why the Reliable Office Workhorse Rarely Gets Ahead. And this is something that Gen X has had issues with, but also now Gen Y. When Gen Y is asked why they have the issues that they have in the workforce, this is commonly quoted as one of the issues. I do more and more work and the lazy people around me do nothing and we all get paid the same, etc. That is a commonality that's spoken about regularly these days. But I'll tell you, even in the Gen X days, as you go back a few years, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, if you were in sales or in commission jobs, you got paid what you were worth. Everyone else pretty much didn't, because you had a bunch of salary averages coming out, and that was posted everywhere, and that was the internet was getting big, and so people had all this data online, and that data was what led to some decisions on how they were hiring people, etc. But I'll say this has been my experience, both as an employee and as a consultant. The bigger businesses get, the larger organizations are, the more matrix delineated they are, where you have a bunch of different groups that you have to work with, cross structures, and each different group has a different modality or task as it is that they attack each day. The more you do that, and the bigger a company is, the less and less the credit for the work that you will be doing will be given to you, and a lot of that will be taken by someone in your upline. And then those people that are expanding and expounding and basically being rewarded for the work that you do, those people will be promoted and move on, and then you yourself and the other workhorses will remain in the stable and be deemed unqualified to do other things. So here's as the article reads, it says, you work so hard but you aren't getting ahead. Literally, what more can I do, is what this person said, a professor who studies power. It says that office workhorses among us think this way. We are the ones picking up the slack when teammates fall short, the ones the boss calls on when they need something done fast or last minute or after hours, and we still aren't the stars. I've seen that many times. Maybe we missed a memo what it takes to win at work. Putting effort in is a given if you want to achieve a raise or promotion, but anyone can grind it out. Researchers said that it's just a matter of sacrificing your life to get that next job or the big or high profile project. You have to be known for working long hours. You have to change what your colleagues and your bosses see in you. You have no control what people see in you. Okay, perception versus reality are two completely dynamically different things, and the perceptions sometimes cannot be corrected. Okay, that you had nothing to do with those perceptions. The way people see you is what generated those perceptions. And as a new worker, so Gen Y, if you're a new worker, or Gen Z, you're a new worker, understand that reality and perception are two different things, and perception can limit your career as real as what you do daily. Just so you know, we're given opportunities all the time to tell our story, and we throw that away, says this person, a professor of organizational behavior at University of North Carolina and author of a book that's coming out on the science of the status. The next time your colleague stops to chit-chat in the hallway or ask you how you're doing, don't say fine or busy, she says. She says, share your most recent win and its impact. This project is going to save us $3 million a year. Or that client that just re-upped on their last contract because they were blown away by your proposal. So the doctor that wrote this was someone named Fraggle, Fragale. So, and then it goes on and says, if you're worried about sounding like a braggart, consider the office show ponies are doing this all the time. Imagine how effective it could be if you paired your hard work with a dose of self-promotion. Ask yourself what positive parts of the work are invisible to others. Share that, not complaints about how yet you worked another weekend or the office coffee is getting weaker. So let me respond to that. I've been in very difficult positions in the past. I've gone places that other people couldn't fix and fixed those places. I did work that was so impactful that people across the country knew my name and I'd never seen them before. Okay. Even in that sense, when the company decided to shift gears and operations were no longer their key, I was not remembered as a person to move on into other roles. Instead, we hired people that were unqualified from outside the company, which ultimately left me leaving a company that the prior year I saved over $400 million, both in cost savings and in increased operations and revenue generation. And still there was not a position for me after that. So, and I was a younger man when I did that. So this is what I'll say. The best advice I'd give to you as a new worker, as a Gen X or a Gen Y person, and or Gen Y and Gen Z person. Gen X, if you're still living through this, you're getting in your 40s and 50s right now. You need to start thinking about your own personal wealth, and whatever you can do to add that and stack that up. You need to be doing that. Gen Xers and Gen Yers just understand that being a workhorse is going to go unappreciated. It's historically accurate. There's going to be cliques in every workplace. The smaller the workplace is, the better you can do with boosting your career or bolstering your career. But with smaller workplaces, people aren't going to turn over as often. So promotion situations for promotion, rather, are going to be more limited because there's less roles at smaller companies. At larger companies, there may be larger roles, but there's a lot more noise within those roles. So just know that. So here's a couple of books that I'm going to recommend on this if you're looking into trying to impact your career. The first one is How to Become CEO by Jeffrey J. Fox. Read this book. This tells you how executives think. I have been an executive. I am an executive now. This tells you how executives think and how they're motivated. And also, the piece about sharing what you've done and what you've won this week, it doesn't matter how you intend that. People are going to take that as bragging. When people ask me how things were going, I always try to say something about the team. I always say the team's doing fantastic. They put up a record safety record with no injuries, et cetera, et cetera. Still, people will come back and say that you're bragging because you're mentioning that. They asked you for information. You're trying to give them positive that came from the team. So you're raising up the team, and they will still try to find something negative about that. So How to Become CEO is a good book. It tells you how some of those executive thought theories come across and what you can do to impact those. The next piece I would say around getting a raise or getting a promotion comes up to your negotiation skills. And so there's two great books on negotiation that I recommend often. This one, though, In Business as in Life, You Don't Get What You Deserve, You Get What You Negotiate by Chester L. Carras. This is a great book. Okay, I read this book probably 20 years ago. I've kept it ever since and review it every year. And through this book, it tells you the keys on negotiating and what you should pay attention to during a negotiation. Attorneys pride themselves on being great negotiators. However, they do fall into certain patterns with how they negotiate. So they can be studied and that can be beaten. If you look at that book, though, it tells you how to look at an individual negotiator and how to address what they're doing. Okay, and the last recommendation I would put on this list is this book, The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene, and that's what that looks like. And I'll tell you, Robert Greene, I'm not going to go into, him as a person. I don't know exactly what he's done, but these books are interesting of his. I have this one and I have one other up there that's called Mastery. And in these books, it gives you several things and it calls them all laws. Like in this book, in this 48 Laws of Power, it tells you how to treat specific people and how to respond to specific people. And, they have some insight to how people view and respond. So, law one in this book is never outshine the master, which if you're a workhorse and you're a doer, you're probably doing that every day. Law two is never put too much trust in friends and learn how to use enemies. The next one is conceal your intentions. The next one is always say less than necessary. The next one is so much depend on reputation. Guard it with your life. The next one is court attention at all cost. So when you read through this book, these books annoy me. Because what it does highlight, and it does it well, it highlights some of the negatives that is in human nature. It highlights some of the things that you shouldn't have to deal with, but you do. And the only way to get out of that, honestly, is to be self-employed. But even that sometimes can impact your life because you still have to answer to customers and answer to shareholders. So even doing that, you're still going to run into these things. But I recommend those three books give you a little bit more insight around being the workhorse, to be the one that's carrying the job. So the next thing I would say is this, and this is six points that go in consideration with what we just talked about, with what I recommended there for reading and what the article is saying. Don't ever change your work ethic because of other people. Always be that hustler. If you're doing that, the right people will see you for that. Okay. But get those people's contact information, set up a LinkedIn, link with those people, build yourself a network of your own that can be managed through a CRM. And social media is actually a CRM. If you don't think about it, that's a system where you keep names, you remember who they are and what they're doing. And the biggest thing about Facebook, or LinkedIn specifically, if you link with a bunch of people at a company, as your career progresses and you leave companies and they leave companies, they will expand and go to other companies, as will you. Your actual network gets stronger because there's more companies in there than originally, because people will leave jobs. That's the historical data now, is people stay at jobs for 3 to 5 years. It's none of this career stuff anymore like there used to be. People get turned and burned very often. A lot of people feel like you do, that they're not appreciated for the amount of work they do. So here's 6 things I want to call out that may change your mindset on these things, and hopefully this will be impactful for you. So number 1 is stop telling people everything. Most people don't care, and some secretly want you to fail. That's a fact. And so when you're at work, remember, those aren't your friends. You need to be friendly and need to be somebody that's approachable, but remember, they're not your friends. So stop telling people everything. Most don't care, and some secretly want you to fail. The second point I will make, and this is a huge point, folks, please pay attention to this: learn to react less. When you control your reaction, no one can manipulate you. And when you respond emotionally, because you're not controlling your reaction, those things will be remembered and used to manipulate you later. Okay, so that is an extreme call out. Please pay attention to that. Learn to react less. Emotion doesn't do anything but get you in trouble. So even if it's bothering you greatly, just swallow that. I got a gentleman that specifically wanted to give me bad feedback one time. And he did it to try to be a barb, try to throw a jab at me. And when he gave me the feedback, I just looked at him like this and didn't change my face. And I was like, wow, this is what I said. I've never received feedback such as that. And so he wanted to go on and talk, well, how does this make you feel? How does this? I was like, I have no feeling about the feedback that you gave me. I don't think it's correct. But obviously, and this is what I said, but obviously you and I are too far apart on how we see things and what the reality is here. Now, ultimately, I chose to leave that company, and ultimately that company fired him after they talked to me in an exit interview and talked to 1 or 2 other people, because the guy was such an awful piece. And the way he treated his teams and the way he tried to micromanage and force decisions on people and then tried to grade them against how he chose to do something, it was pathetic. It was one of the worst things I ever saw as an employee anywhere. So learn to react less. Keep that calm demeanor. When you do that, you'll be more greatly respected, even if it's not your direct upline. Because here's the thing. You're going to have a bad boss or an upline point at some point that's going to be an absolute clown. And how you manage that person, how you deal with that person, that matters. And it will teach you some things. So look at it as an education, as a learning opportunity, and just do what you have to, but take the emotion out of it. If you're being disrespected, get up and leave the room. Okay, don't sit in a room and get disrespectful back. Just say, look, this isn't appropriate, and get up and leave the room. I don't care if it's your boss. I don't care if it's your boss's boss. No one has the right to be inappropriate or to abuse you. You have a right to say something polite back to them and get up and leave. And later on, if someone asks you about the incident, but what I would do is I'd report it right away if you have the opportunity to, and handle it that way, but learn to react less. The third suggestion is expect nothing, appreciate everything. Be grateful for the little things in your life to find inner peace. That is the great way. That is the best way to survive these situations, is you expect nothing, you appreciate everything. Measure your daily wins and successes and document those, so you can go back and give yourself the motivation you need to have. If your upline is just a piece and just sucks the life out of everybody, at least you can celebrate that, and you can celebrate the wins of the people that are on the level with you, so you guys can at least enjoy your workload as best you can. Because in a lot of situations, not a lot of jobs and places, you have to keep the one you've got. So that's the only way you're going to be able to keep a positive mindset and move forward, is expect nothing and appreciate everything. The fourth suggestion here is do your best and trust the process. The harder you work, the luckier you will get. What they say is there's no such thing as luck. The harder you work, the better prepared you are, the more things are going to go your way. So celebrate those wins, and you will see that will happen. So do your best and trust the process. Don't ever pull back on the quality of work you put out because your upline's awful. Just always do good quality, and that way when you leave, you'll be moving a step in the right direction. You want to stay on the right side of things. You don't want to get to the point that you're petty and have issues like that. So do your best and trust the process. The fifth is control yourself and not others. Controlling others is strength. Controlling yourself is true power. I don't think controlling others is strength. I think what you do is you hire the right people, you train them up, and you let them do what it is you hired them to do. Then you don't have to control them. You will benefit from their effort, and they should have a work ethic like yours. But controlling yourself is true power, and it goes back at those two that I mentioned before. Learn to react less and expect nothing, and appreciate everything, right? And the final point that I want to make here on this is choose your friends wisely. The fastest way to become better is to surround yourself with better people. That is far harder to do than what it sounds. So if you do those things, though, that should assist you in this situation. And if you are the one that's the workhorse and is doing what you're supposed to do and making your objectives and your achievements every day, then what I would recommend is every 2 to 3 weeks or every month end, send an email to your upline person and say, hey, this is what went well this month. These are things I need help with. If you notate 3 to 5 things that went well, notate 1 to 3 things that you need help with, and you have that email, you send it to your upline and you send it to yourself, and you do that every month without fail, generally, if your upline's a decent human being, that will be remembered and will be used to help you in the future. And if it's not, and they're micromanaging idiot, then those emails at some point may be useful to you for other things. And that may be a promotion in a different division or lateral line elsewhere that's under a different, better boss. It can give you opportunities that let you do better. Okay, so those are recommendations I have for today. That's all for this one. I just wanted to review this article and talk a little bit. One of the Gen Y videos I did recently had a lot of comments and a lot of attention put on it. So I'll say, generationally, different generations expect different things. There is a video on the channel that talks about that and what people want specifically by age in those generations. So you can look at that video in the catalog if you're curious about that. But at the end of the day, all you can do is do your best and keep moving forward. There are going to be things that upset you, and there are going to be things that break down, but realize a lot of jobs every year are being replaced by other things now. AI right now is replacing a lot of jobs. So you need to document your successes as best you can. You need to celebrate those as best you can. And as you navigate through the workforce, this is how you as a workhorse will stand out and you get known for your quality of work. If you do that consistently, I would say look into a sales position where you get paid for your performance. Because if you're constantly going to do that and you get paid for your performance, you will appreciate that role better. And you'll be protecting yourself from the nonsense of roles that are outside of your control. Hopefully this is useful to you. If it is, please like, please subscribe, please share. I'm Ben. Be good.